see that. Thanks, Kelly. Recording in progress. Another thing I want to name before we jump in here is that since this is a virtual format, the cadence of this meeting might feel a little bit slow. When we're in a virtual setting, we need to move at a slower pace. We might have tech difficulties. Everyone might be at a little bit of a different spot, and all of that is okay. The time here is still going to be productive. The meeting just might feel a little bit slower. Oh, yep, somebody just moved that. Okay. All right. Thank you all for jumping into this pre-work. Thank you for adding your name and the sticky note. Good job to whoever was able to figure out the gifts. That's not always easy. And if you haven't done this yet, you can do it later or on the break, but we would love to just capture your name and who you work with, really just for our attendance purposes. All right, and we're going to go on to right here, this pirate ship activity. So what I'm going to ask is that you take a good look at this picture. And in regards to the Part 115 Materials Management Plan, which figure here do you identify with? We've got figures doing a lot of different stuff. I see number 8, we've got some teamwork happening to lift up an anchor. All the way over here, we've got someone actually at number 15 pushing the ship back to the harbor. Oh, please try not to move it. I'll go ahead and move that back. All right. Hold on one second. We got some folks moving our picture here. All right. So, and we even have somebody that looks like they're drowning. So when you get a chance, go ahead and add a sticky note. Which figure do you identify with here? I'll give you a minute or two to do that. Thanks to whoever's moving the picture. And we'll put 1 minute on the clock here. Take your time looking at it. Got about 30 seconds left to add your sticky note. Which figure are you? And I'll call on just a couple people to share what you picked and why. Right, the seatbelt sign sound means that our time is up. 1 minute has passed. And I'm just gonna randomly call on some folks so that you have that chance to share. What did you choose and why? I'm gonna go with Noelle, and it looks like there's 2 people in your screen. What do you guys pick? Who are you on this pirate ship?
So I'm Ashley, by the way, and Noelle is here with me. So we picked number 8, kind of pulling the anchor out, setting sail. We're on our way. We unfortunately just lost the director for our department, so we're in a very big transition phase here at Emmett County Recycling. So we just appointed a new DPA who is taking a little bit more of a hands-off approach. And so Noelle and I and the staff at Emmett County Recycling are doing all of the work and then just reporting back to the DPA. So Noelle's getting caught up on the materials management planning. I've been pretty involved with the process to date, up through all of it. So yeah, we're setting sail. We're doing it as a team effort right now.
Wow, thank you for sharing. That sounds like a big change. Thank you. How about Nico Tucker? Are you willing to share who you chose on this pirate ship? All right, maybe not near the screen. How about Jake Borton? Who'd you pick?
Yeah, sorry. Been busy with something else. So I have not done anything to pick any of it.
Okay. Do you want the opportunity to look now, or do you want to pass?
I'll pass.
Okay. All right. We'll switch it up. Anybody willing to share? I see that. Who chose number 3, the person flying a kite?
Oh, that would be me, Lisa McKenzie with Whoopiter. I chose that one because I feel like what we're doing is trying to provide as much information, kind of, thinking about the kite going higher and thinking about all the things that we need to accomplish. So I'm kind of like part of that flying the kite thing.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks for sharing that. And I see we've got 2 people who chose 20, the person on the little island reading a paper. Can you guys come off mute one at a time and share why you chose that?
This is Heather. I chose number 20, the guy on the island, because at Allegan County, I'm a one-man show here, and so everything kind of just falls onto me. So sometimes I feel like I'm on an island with information and help and different things like that. So sometimes I just feel like I'm all by myself.
Oh, Heather, thanks for sharing that. That's tough.
Hey there, Kate Neese, Clinton County. I chose the island because I'm literally just sitting back and waiting for everything to unfold. Eagle has seemed to be a little slow in getting stuff to us and communicating stuff to us, and I'm trying not to stress about it. I'm just gonna sit back and wait for instructions on moving forward.
Thank you, Kate. Thanks for sharing that. And thank you all for participating in that exercise. I think a really great thing just to highlight here is how so many of you are in a different place with this process, choosing different parts of the pirate ship, seeing yourself differently in this image and where you're at in the process. All right, so we're going to move on here to the bulk of our time today. I see some of you have started filling in some sticky notes, and I'll just ask you to hold off for one moment. I want to explain a little bit more about what we're going to do. So we've got this activity here, and it'll be split up into 3 different parts, and there'll be a break in between doing some of this work. And so first off, I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to have some individual thinking time. So we'll consider the challenges that you're facing, and I'll ask you for those 3 minutes to reflect and use your sticky notes to put the challenges you have up on the board. And you might have to make your sticky notes smaller, minimizing them so that everyone can fit into the space. And then we'll actually release you into breakout rooms for about 15 minutes so that you can discuss what you put on your sticky notes, hear from one another, and have some robust dialogue about what's going on. And then we'll call you back into the space and we'll have a little bit more direction there. I want to name that this individual thinking time could feel really long, or it could actually feel a little bit slow depending on how your mind works. But I'll just encourage you that if you get 3 or 4 sticky notes out, keep going. Try to use up this 3 minutes of individual thinking time, because sometimes that's when our best ideas come out or our biggest concerns. And then use that 15 minutes in your breakout room to go deeper into your sticky note. And you'll hear some music playing, and that's just to help you think during this time. So leaning in here, take us up. So this first part that I only want you to focus on, only focus on this first part. What are the challenges or concerns you face in developing a meaningful plan that meets the unique needs of your community? Consider communication, consider process, share examples, and consider reoccurring issues. Are there particular policies or procedures in this process that are challenging to implement or comply with? That's a large prompt, and I'm hoping that you really think about it here. So I see some of you are working. I'm going to put a timer up here for 3 minutes. And again, this is your individual work time, and then we will put you in the breakout room so that you can discuss amongst one another. And you'll start hearing the music. Feel free to start generating your sticky notes now, or write them in the chat and we'll do our best to get them on the mural board. All right. We are done with that 3-minute time. It's okay if you're still working on your sticky notes, that's just fine. And now Kelly is kindly going to randomly bring you into a breakout room. And you'll have 15 minutes to discuss with one another what you wrote on your sticky notes, maybe some other additional thoughts you have, and to really engage in discussion with one another about what you both wrote. So you've got time here. If there's a little bit of silence, just keep rolling with it. We really encourage you to use this time to chat. Make sure you join your breakout room. You'll have to hit join on your screen. And then if possible, can we get Kim and Kieran into a breakout room?
Hello.
Hi, Kim.
Hello.
Hi, Kim. I'm having trouble getting my camera going. Sorry about that.
No worries.
All right, so I guess I'll start. One of the things that I put on here that I think I'll struggle with is capacity. I think there's a big overhaul to do a lot of stuff, and that's one of my biggest fears is I have, it's the capacity of, okay, here's all the things I think we should do, and here's all the things that, I think my community wants and stuff like that. And then there's just me and my few part-time retiree kind of staff, and how do we adjust and how do we change and how that's going to grow. And, um, it's change is different and scary. And so, and then how the plan's going to fit with all that. And so, yeah, so capacity and staff changing is kind of one of the things I put on there
Yeah,
that
I
I
think
think will be different.
we kind of share that as well, and it's capacity, and we're trying to, this grant funding needs to get rolling because I can't bring on any more additional staff to take on these projects. We already had to ask our counties for an advance of funding because just getting all this pre-work done, there's a cost to it, and the counties needed our help, so we stepped in and helped. And so now we're kind of just like, we need to get this grant funding rolling. We're going to get the MMPC members have been appointed, but we're going to start having meetings, and that's going to be more expenses. So that to me, that was one of the big things is the grant funding. We need to get the grant funding out to the counties so we can start actually doing the work. Another concern I had was just this planning period's a very long period. Like the plan itself, development of the plan itself won't take forever, but keeping the committee engaged after the plan's done, because that's what tends to happen is there's a lot of buildup, a lot of fanfare about getting the plan done, and we're going to do all these things. Then it comes to implementation, and our region's 39 units of government. We've got 20 people on our MMPC. How do we keep them engaged for the long haul? It's not just about getting the plan done. It's really about implementing the plan. So that's a concern I have.
It's a good one. I didn't think about that. Yeah, like keeping them engaged. Yeah, once it's in there. Yeah. Yeah, another one too that I put in there too is the continuous funding.
Yeah.
Because that's also to me it's a tricky slash kind of it's kind of political in a sense too with for me I have two landfills that we've historically taken a portion of their tipping fees. And, is that the continuous structure we want to do? Obviously we would want to ask for more funding. Do we want to fund differently? And how do we want to do that? Is it ordinance based or is it, a different structure? And how do we go about that? The moment you start talking about any of this, you can just feel the sense of like, ooh, like, like especially when, I talked about it at our last so I already have my MMPCs set. And there's just a sense of, especially with the haulers in there, the landfills are in there, yeah, everyone. There's just a sense of like, ooh, you're treading on dangerous waters, so but you got to fund it somehow. I mean, if we're going to do it, if you guys want this, mega plan and these dream things, because that's what they all want. They want this beautiful plan, and then got to fund it somehow. So that's the scary part. It's funding.
Yeah, I think one of our bigger challenges too is going to be that we only have one hauler for the whole region basically, and they
Yeah.
own the landfill. So
Yeah.
we really tried hard years ago to break up the monopoly, and it worked for about 15 years. And then during COVID, Waste Management sold the GFL, and GFL is now the only hauler really, and they bought Waste Management's landfill. So it's like anytime you're going to propose anything new, you can expect resistance.
That's trickier. Yeah, we essentially have three main ones in our area. Oddly enough, GFL is not one of them. Yeah.
I have a question. It's Catherine, and this
Sure.
might be pretty elementary. When you guys talk about funding at this point, are you talking about like, because Saginaw County hired a consultant. So the only expense that we have right now is the consultant. So are you guys spending money on anything other than like just trying to do the work of writing the plan, or?
We haven't started anything with the plan yet. We've had to help the counties with the notice of intent process, getting the MMPC appointed. And then now we're focused on getting our work plan together and trying to help the counties get the grant funding. So there's not been one thing we've worked on that's directly related to the plan until we get all this other stuff approved.
Okay, because the health department is acting as our DPA. And so some of their cost for an FTE is going to be paid by the grant money, I assume reimbursed, but I'm a big believer in, the words that we both all use meaning the same thing to everybody. And so when you were talking about funding, I just wanted to understand, like, at this point in the process, what does funding mean? Because to me, funding can mean paying for people to write the plan, or it can mean education down the road.
Yeah. That's what we've actually had that conversation when actually and we record all of our MMPCs now and I post them, but we had that kind of conversation too a little bit because we had talked about how you can backdate the grant is backdatable to cover current cost. So like all the work that I've done theoretically could be covered. And the question comes down because technically my funding, my time, I've placed a lot of time so far into all this. I've already, created a work program and I've worked on the consultant for all this stuff. And I've put together our MMPC. I've learned, I've read and reviewed Part 115 and I've done tons of work related to this. And do you want to backdate some of my funding for this, or do you choose to not to do that and have this go towards the community, towards other items? And so that's where it's, that's the game you play. And that's where, my thoughts are, once we get the grant, we'll talk about it more, but my thoughts would be more, I'd rather have it go more into our infrastructure, or our, other items that we need further down the line. And we just went through our RFP process for our consultant. We're boiling down to our last little items for that. And we're going to have additional staffing that we're going to have because our program we already have a robust, you do too, a robust program. So we want to, and that program's going to have to grow and so our funding is going forward and we're going to have two separate project orgs for our existing funding will be for existing, and then we're going to separate out planning as planning. So
that was helpful. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The way we kind of did our budget in the interlocal agreement that we've had because we're working with 3 counties in the Eastern UP. So all 3 counties signed on to an interlocal agreement, and we put in there a projected 5-year budget based on what Eagle said each county was going to get for grant funding. And there's a distinct break after year 2 that pivots from doing the planning work to now focusing on implementation of the plan. So that's kind of how we broke it down. But we're such a small organization that we're paying out of our general fund for all these like activities that needed to get stood up in order for the grants to get awarded. So that's why we ended up having to go to the counties, because our pockets aren't that deep to be able to just keep paying for staff to do stuff. So the counties we're fortunate, we have a good working relationship with all 3 of our counties, and they were fine with covering the cost of the pre-work, knowing that if they get the grant, then they'll be able to reimburse themselves for the pre-work. So which, Kim, is nice that they're allowing us to, cover expenses that we already had. So that was a big relief.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Because I know I've heard other counties too say like that's needed. Like otherwise,
Yeah,
you wouldn't have known what to do. Because yeah, not every county's like, and that's part of why, I thought this was a great idea is because not every county is set up the same. So everyone's
right.
different, So it's nice to know that you're not alone essentially. Like,
Yeah,
yes.
and there's a few other regional planning organizations that are involved in, like, they're the DPA for their areas, and we've been meeting for a few months now, just as the regions, just to talk, like, kind of like this group, which I invited all those people to this meeting, so hopefully
Yeah.
they'll be in there either today or in the future. But just we've been having conversations like this too, like, hey, what's keeping you up at night? Like, what challenge are you running up against? And it's been super helpful. And these type of meetings, like the one you set up, are just so hugely important. So thank you.
Mhm. Yeah. I agree. It's just nice to know like what are you doing? What's this? And yeah, what's
The
this?
boat in the mural thing was just very very apt, because it's like we're all in the same boat here. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I thought that was a great picture. I was like,
yeah.
yeah. The hardest one is
I
figuring
was
out
on
which
the
one to
little dinky
relate
squish of the
to.
boat. That's what I felt like. That's where I was at.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt like I was the person like mopping the deck, putting the, I was like, I'm eight of those people. Trying to keep this boat going.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Where are you guys in the process? Like for Saginaw County, we are at the point, we have the planning committee set. It's been appointed. We approved our bylaws. We have one vacancy on the planning committee because we don't have a regional planner. And then we've been meeting quarterly. We have our next meeting on Monday to set new officers for this year. And then we have a representative from our Board of Commissioners. We have a set agenda and we have a draft work plan that we're working on. I think one of the issues is like, how do you figure out your budget before you know what you're going to do? But where's everybody else in the process?
Catherine, just a quick question for you. Are you guys in MCOG's region?
Yes.
Okay. They haven't, they're not providing a regional planning person, or?
I am not, I'm not an expert on how those things work. My background is municipal government. My understanding is that the county is not part of,
Okay.
um,
Of MCOG, yeah.
yeah,
They're not a member. Yeah, okay.
yeah. I think that,
I know
you know,
every
there,
region's situated differently, so.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think that there's
Okay.
an appetite to figure that out. I just don't think it's been figured out now.
Yeah.
And I think that there might be a little bit of, history around that.
Yeah, probably, I would guess. Yeah,
Well,
okay.
there's history around everything. So yeah. But I think in general, when I talk to people, I usually walk away thinking that we're pretty fortunate here with where we are so far.
Yeah, so I guess where we're at in the process is we have the MMPC, all the members have been appointed. We're working on bylaws and the work plan right now, so we can have a meeting later this month or in early February to get all that approved. And then kind of in tandem, we're working with the counties on the grant side of it, so that once we get our work plan done, we can get it all submitted and hopefully get the grants going.
Mm-hmm.
Catherine, with that regional, you're saying it's the regional planning agency representative that you haven't been able to get?
That's the vacancy, but I want to be very clear that I personally haven't played a role in trying to reach out to MCOG, or
Okay.
we have a county administrator that's working on that. And I meant that not as a criticism or as a problem, just as like noting in our committee that at this moment in time that slot is vacant.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. Well, if you end up needing help with that or identifying who it is, let me know, because we do have contact information for them.
Mm-hmm. I did
We'll give everybody a moment to arrive back into our big group space. All right. Looks like we're all here. Sorry to interrupt the conversation. Hopefully you guys had some good conversation, could learn a little bit more about what the challenges and concerns y'all are facing are. And for the next about 12 minutes, 12, 13 minutes, we're going to have big group conversation about what you talked about in your small group. So at this time, I'm hoping just sort of popcorn style, you'll come off mute and just share, what did you guys talk about? What did you learn from one another?
I'll pop in and talk a little bit about our group. I think there was a need to discharge some frustration about how the process has gone so far. And we do hope that this group, we can air the grievances and move on from them because those are important. And I do think that, questions about funding and how funding's going should be taken seriously because, that is the foundation of all this work. Besides that, I heard in our group that there's a real concern, especially for multi-county DPAs, about how they share and distribute money to counties. And the same is if there's single county DPAs, how the implementation funds, how much of that funding is going to be available to actually implement plans and support, community-based services. And I think that's going to be challenging because, this work is going to be, the planning work is really important and is going to take a lot of resources. But as much as you can save and identify funding for implementation, I think that's great. But there's a lot of concern about how that should happen because of the work plan grants right now and how you can plan for that in the future. And the one thing I'd say about that is that, this is only 1 year of funding that Eagle is asking for because I think they understand that, this is the first time we're doing this and we're going to have to figure out how to do this in the future. And that means that you all have flexibility to adjust and change things as you go along too. So this is not going to be written in stone for the next 3 years. It's going to be flexible and adaptable to needs.
Thanks, Karen. Did some of those concepts come up in any of the other breakout rooms? Anyone else want to share?
Hi, this is Whitney from Oakland County, and that was absolutely something that we talked about in our group. And a big question we have is we're all allotted a certain amount of money for each of the first 3 years. In our personal experience, like I'm hoping not to spend all of our first year grant money because we're doing the planning. We'd like to hold on to that until closer to the end of the plan for our implementation of whatever it is that that we come up with in our plan that we want to implement. So is that a responsibility, or I'm sorry, is that a possibility? Is all of this money that's earmarked for us still going to roll over to the subsequent years so that we would be able to utilize it because we know it's a reimbursement basis grant. So I think that's a big question that we all had. And then just really, especially in multi-county plans, bringing everyone together, the different counties, the different players, and what everyone believes, and how do you have the committee disperse all of that information to all of the players in the counties, bringing that all together so that we can then be able to have everyone on board so that when it comes time for approval of the plan, no one's blindsided. And then one other quick thing that we had was just like having some sort of central repository for all of the documents, since a lot of the counties are creating the same documents, RFPs, bylaws, and work programs and all of that. Is there a possibility to have one place where people can just upload all of that information? And the UP said that they have that within their region, but is there a possibility for that? And even though that's a big task for someone. So thank you.
Thanks, Whitney. There was a lot of thumbs up going on as you were speaking, so it sounds like that resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah. Cenk Board from Isabella County. And I think that this is going to be the main focus of it, pretty much everybody on here, and that's funding. I mean, Isabella County just lost road patrol because we're broke. And the state's asking us to do a reimbursable grant. It's not going to happen. We don't have any money to be able to spend towards this. And if we can't have the money up front to be able to spend on it, we're not going to be able to do this, which means an 8-county region that I put together is going to dissolve. And probably I won't be surprised that if all 8 counties then just goes to the point where we say, yeah, the state's going to have to write this. And we don't have the time, we don't have the money. We'll allow the state to write this plan. And I know that there's the tiers for it to all go through. It'll have to go to the city. I'll have already had all of them conversations to make sure that everybody's aware of where it's at. So I don't expect that any one county out of this 8-county region is going to be in a situation to be able to do anything with it. So it's disappointing that it come back to a reimbursable grant. And the state's hoping that we have the money to be able to at least start to do these things and then ask for reimbursement out of it. The scary part of that is, are we going to get reimbursed on everything that we're turning in? And we don't know that answer because the state doesn't even know that answer. So,
thanks for sharing that, Jake. Feel free to pop off mute. I'm seeing in the chat, Laura says there should be some consideration of fronting partial funding to get started. Seeing some head nods around that, yeah.
Yeah, just to weigh in, this is Laura. That is, yeah, I didn't realize it was reimbursable either. I can see Eagle doesn't want to cut a check for $60,000, and up front, but the gentleman from Isabella just said, they're cutting road patrol. We face road patrol issues as well. I mean, funding for basic services, it's tightening up. And so anyway, reimbursable is going to be very tough. I can see, some kind of quarterly payments to have some kind of monitoring and you want accountability, but reimbursable is going to be tough.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks for double stitching on that. What else? What else did you talk about in your group or share a sticky note?
Can I ask a question?
Please.
This question is for the state. I saw that Christina was on the call. All of the meetings that we went to last year, it was my understanding, as was the understanding of others, that there was money to be given, 60,000 a year, 70 if you're doing multi-county plan. And as long as we wrote a work plan and submitted it to the state was then going to release the funding. Just all 60,000 of it, obviously earmarked specifically for this purpose. But once the work plan went in, they had 180 days and they were going to fund the money. And that's how we were all operating, thinking that, it's all predicated on the work plan. So the question then, Christina, is what changed to make this so substantially different from what our understanding was last year?
Christina, before you talk, I do want to say before Christina talks, and she has every right to answer and stuff too, but I just want to make sure that the idea is this is, Eagle's here and it is for them to be able to listen and stuff. And I want to make sure that I want this to be a constructive conversation and stuff too. And I'm sure Eagle doesn't have all the answers either. And I don't want us to think that they do. And and I'm hoping for us that this meeting might be tools for them as well. So she can still answer and she might have the answers. But just, I just want to put this out there that this is, maybe tools for them as well. And this is something that they can learn from as this is something we can all learn from each other. So, she can still answer, Eagle can still answer, but just so everyone has out there, Eagle may not have all the answers. So don't have the expectation that all the answers will come from this meeting. I just want to put that out there.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you. And I didn't mean to
Yeah.
offend at all. I
No,
honestly just
yeah, I
wanted to
don't
know.
think,
I'm sorry.
yeah, I just wanted to make sure. I
This
just
is
didn't want to give you the expectation that you're going to get your answer.
okay. Yeah, very politely, only if you can answer. I was
Yeah.
just curious because it just seemed like I woke up and it was changed, and very, very politely. Don't mean to offend at all, Christina. So please.
Thanks, Mel.
No. So this is Christina Miller, by the way, for those who don't know who I am. And so this meeting I'm supposed to be sitting back and learning and listening more so than leading, which I appreciate that you guys are doing this. Excuse me, and I'm a little bit under the weather, so I apologize. So couple things. So let me address Jake real quick, and then I'll mention the other things. So Jake, and Laura, the very fact that you guys are meeting with these committees, you are expending staff time and resources to do this work. So the act of planning takes somebody to do the work, and staffing is a reimbursable expense for this grant. So you are working on it and you are spending your money and time to do that. And so there's no reason that you can't use those funds for that purpose. So that's the first thing. Yes, we're still trying to figure out all the multi-county pieces to that, like how that's going to be distributed. Essentially, if you recall, I'm sorry, you saying something, Jake?
No, go ahead. Keep talking.
Okay. Yeah. So anyways, I lost my train of thought there, but and then regarding the grant. So the law does say what it says. Like you're going to do these things, and you're going to you file you get an approved work program from Eagle, and then you get the money. But the how you were getting the money never was officially decided. If you recall, we weren't sure if you'd get it in a percentage, every quarter, or how that works. But the bottom line is we need to know that you're using the money for this purpose. And the objective is to have a plan. So I actually had started typing something in there. Somebody had mentioned about the implementation dollars. You can implement the money or use money for implementation, but the objective is to have a plan. You have to meet, you have to do those things, you have to plan. And if you have money to implement, then yes. And I think Emily's going to jump on and kind of fill in some of the gaps on the grant itself. Just so everybody knows, I had it in our little breakout group. We were waiting to get some stuff online on our webpage before we notified all the DPAs that the grant was available, and I will be sending an email out this afternoon. Obviously with the holidays, everything's backed up. So anyways, you will be getting an email later for that. So Emily, if you want to fill in any gaps.
Yeah. Thanks, Christina. And at the end of our time here, we can keep asking one another questions. That's super important, but we can also just bulk up some questions at the end as well. Just in the next, little bit here, minute or so, I want to go back to what some of the challenges everyone faced are, and just kind of look through here on your mural board. I'll summon you all to where I am. And just in the next minute, if you can, just skim over and read through what some of these other sticky notes are. You might see some things that are familiar to you that you talked about in your breakout room, or maybe something different. And what we're going to do is just a really quick vote. You'll have 3 votes, and you'll be able to say, oh, yes, this is one of the top challenges or concerns. And that way, when we're compiling our meeting notes, we can kind of show these were the things that really rose to the surface. And so I'm going to go ahead and start this voting tool. And so you will have you'll have 2 minutes and you'll have 3 votes. And we're just going to vote on this area. Enlarging it. There we go. And you should have voting access now. To vote, you'll just click on a sticky note. What are the top 3 challenges that you're seeing represented here today? I'm going to end this voting session in about 50 seconds. We're all still working on our votes.
Sierra,
Yeah, go ahead.
I've clicked on it and it says 1 on the 3 that I picked. How does the vote get added? Because it says you have 0 votes left. Somehow has it seen my votes?
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, this is the first time I'm working on Mural, so I don't know how to work it. So I
Yep,
just
I
didn't
think
want
you're great. Yep,
Okay.
I think you.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Mhm. All right, giving it another 30 seconds. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end that voting session so that we can see. All right, you'll see on my screen here the top votes being funding, reimbursement format for funding, and lack of consistent information from Eagle, having clear guidance throughout the planning process, including grant funding availability, and funding structure for MMP. Those were our top votes there. All right, thank you all for doing that voting session. This has been a great first half of our time together. We're going to take the next 10 minutes to go on break. So feel free to mute yourself, get up, walk around, use the restroom, and we're going to come back here at 11:45. So 10-minute break here. Enjoy your break. All right, let's begin to make our way back into the space. I'm gonna put on some music to call you back to your monitor. Give about 1 minute to come back. All right, hello, everyone. It is 11:46, and we're coming back from our break. I hope you had a restful break, did anything you needed to do, hydrated, and we're gonna jump right back into our work here today. All right, so before our break, we did the challenges and concerns portion, and now we're actually going to move right down here, and I'll summon you all to right where I am. All right, so similar activity here. I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to work individually to start generating your own sticky notes. And then we'll go back into a 15-minute breakout room, and then we'll return and have a full group share out. So for the next 3 minutes, I'm hoping that you only focus on this one question here, the what strategies can we create to meet these needs? Thinking about the challenges and concerns that were just talked about, what can we as people in the room do? Maybe not looking externally for answers, but really trying to co-create something together. So what actions can we take that will be helpful? What are you currently doing with your team that you're finding is really helpful for this process? All right, so I'm putting 3 minutes on the clock here so that you can think about strategies. This is individual work time. Generate your stickies, and then we'll bring you back into those breakout rooms. Your thinking music is going on now. Our 3 minutes are up here. Don't worry if you weren't able to add everything. You can keep discussing it and continue to add sticky notes as you're in your breakout room. Again, we're talking about what strategies can we create to meet these needs. And Kelly's going to generate some new breakout rooms for us. So when it pops up on your screen, be sure to join your breakout room and introduce yourself and really embrace the next 15 minutes to discuss what strategies can be created. Remember, this is your opportunity to really go back and forth with one another and have robust conversations.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
How are you all doing with the work plan grant situation? So for me, we've had one meeting. We're meeting again in a week. We haven't even begun to ask the questions or had the discussions to answer most of the questions on like the budget sheet for that document, which is like, hey, plan the next 3 years of your life with about 1,000% unknowns and basically zero guidance from the state. I find it like kind of an absurd request. And like we asked for an extension on that deadline, which comes up in like a month and a half. By that time, we will have had 2 meetings to make decisions for like $300,000+. How are you guys approaching that kind of Sisyphusian task?
I'm scheduling a call with Christina.
Yeah.
We're doing a multi-county plan, and I have more questions now than I did prior to the guidance being released, because I have no idea how to take 5 individual counties' detailed budget worksheets and put that into one work plan. And so, yeah, I feel the same way. I don't want to bash Eagle about anything because I know they're in the process of developing this as well. And I really appreciate the level of communication Christina has tried to have with all of us. So, but at the same time, it's still incredibly confusing. And for me, I feel it would be that a lot of their guidance has been geared towards single county plans, and having multi-county plans thrown in there has really, there's just, it doesn't work as well. It doesn't work the same way as it would a single county plan. So I almost feel like they need, okay, if you're doing a single county plan, you go with this guidance. If you're doing a multi-county plan, you go with this guidance. But there's a lot of questions, and the administrators, 5 administrators we're working with are, I have some that are very hands-on and others that are just like, you do everything. I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
The DPA.
Well, I'd imagine too, well, that too, and you have some counties like Muskegon in my mind that has a very robust like waste system.
Right.
And then you've got others that are very more rural. So it's like, and then I think of it as like a single county. I'm a single county that has a very robust program. So I already have an existing program. So that's already an existing funding structure that I already have some funding stuff. And so that brings on another level that's not, so I already created and submitted a work program. And I had talked to Christina, and it's like, and I live a lot of stuff is like, I think back in my MEEP days of like KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And she said, just submit it based and keep the idea of the 4 things that it said in the law. And that's kind of what I did. And I kind of built it out. The one thing that I'll have to, I think, really build out more is the timeline, that kind of part, because it's a 1 year and I just did very vague, like a 3 year,
Yeah, I looked at yours when I was preparing our draft ones.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm like, this looks, and actually I was not too bad, but I just like, all right, this is the staffing I think I need. And I didn't even look at how much money I think I'll get, because at the end of the day too, and I was like, like half some of the staff that I think I need. And because again, some of it, I already have existing programs and there's too many, there's no way to truly be able to budget for it too. And I try to explain that to them because there's no way to budget because you have your county budget schedules, you've got program stuff, you've got, and then I saw their thing I was reading their grant thing about fringe. And I was like, well, I can't even dictate fringe because that's what the county dictates the fringe and how to interpret
Right. And most
it. So,
counties don't have NICRAs, right?
yeah, like,
So, I mean, we have a NICRA, but so we could do it, but we're not eligible. And my counties are like, can you just apply for us? You're our DPA. Can't you just do it for us and have one budget sheet? And we can't because we're not the CAA and only a CAA can apply.
yeah, and that's why I was like, that's what some of the stuff, and I've had this conversation, and I've talked to Eagle, both Emily and it's probably off topic of the we're supposed to, but I've talked to both of them, and I said, I think the biggest problem is you guys are not thinking at what a county is like, the county processes, and you have these times and deadlines, then you're forgetting that then there's ours. Like, so when you say, all right, we're going to give you this grant, I was like, well, I can't even budget. Like, I can't even budget until I see the contract, So, and they're like, well, you have it's in the law. And I was like, no, there's no number in the law. Like, I need the law, the terms and agreements. And I was like, I can't even budget. And it's like, even when I have now, they give us all right, here's the grant agreement. It's like, that's still not, I can't have it until I have the actual, all right, sign here. Then we can start bringing it to the board. And then that's when I can start budgeting for it. And they
I think
don't
there's
get that.
a difficulty too in that since they didn't provide guidance for multi-county agreements,
Yeah.
every multi-county agreement is tweaked slightly in the way that it distributes these funds out. And so how will they interpret that in each budget, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. And that's where I imagine, yeah, for multi-counties, it's, yeah. And it's like, so that's my guidance of being a single county and not is just think of it as simple as possible and just give them the bare. And that's why I talked with Kent County. I don't know what they're doing too, but they were like, we're doing as simple as possible because that's just what we're doing. They're like, it's not, yeah. And I haven't talked to them. They tend to solo ride a lot. So, but
It's interesting too, because in the build up to all this, there was such a heavy-handed push for multi-county. And I have, Washtenaw and Wayne County around me. Like Washtenaw is like Ann Arbor, like the golden child of recycling. So we're not going to partner with them. And then Wayne County is its own creature. And we're similar to you, Kim. Like we have a robust program. I have a program for like almost every waste stream. We're funded by a tipping fee structure, like 18 cents a cubic yard. We have a lot of this in place. And like you, we can't project out this budget until we have like numbers from vendors that have been approved through an RFP process.
Yeah.
And I think what some of the frustration, like Aaron, you brought this up, like what I forget what Karen's quote was. It was perfect. She's like a discharge of frustrations or something like that. I was like, yeah, we're feeling that. I mean, the only place we have to sort of like direct that is to those who are telling us to do this. And these deadlines keep coming up and like, you got to do all this stuff, but they're not giving us any of the materials, the guidance, the what we need to actually do these things. I think I was maybe more confused after like the grant guidance was given, because what they did was they literally like photocopied Oakland County's plan and put that in as the template. Like if you look at Oakland County's, it's verbatim. So you didn't do anything. You just copied someone else's homework and told us all to do it. Like that's kind of ridiculous. Like we need a little bit more guidance than that. We need an editable template so that we're not all reinventing the wheel. What are we, 86 counties or something like that?
Yeah.
Like each one of us are spending how much time, thinking through these like long strategic processes. And we're also having to spend so much time on these small little granular like formatting BS in like Excel and Word because the state isn't providing us the resources we need to do these tasks that they're holding us accountable to.
Right. And I think it would be so much easier for them to review and approve if they had a standard template. Like you said, a fillable template that we could just fill out. And it would make their lives a lot easier than getting, of the 83 counties, or I don't know how many are multi-county, how many are not,
Yeah, that's right.
that many different versions of everything.
Why wouldn't you standardize that?
Yeah.
I,
We're burning hours too because I developed a work plan back in the summer with the material that they did have, and then I developed a different work plan when they finally decided what was going to go in it, and now I'm on my third version of a work plan. So
Yeah, I'm on my
I
second.
only have a set amount of funding to use per year, you know.
Yeah. Well, and
And
that's
I think
where, yeah, it's hard. Yeah, because that's why I'm like, you know, I don't have, like, I'm having funding issues alone already because of other things that have occurred separate from all this, stuff. And then
Yeah.
now it's like, I need funding and, I'm like, okay, this might help me get through my funding issues and tell us I've been waiting for this grant. And then they've been dragging their feet, and feel like I've been talking about this magical grant that's going to happen, like this unicorn. Like it's out there, guys. There's really this unicorn, I promise. And then it's like they're like, all right, is there really one? Like, and
Yeah,
then
I'm
grant
concerned now
agreement.
that they're going to read the agreement for the 6 counties in our region. They're going to read the grant agreements and decide it's too difficult and drop out of our group.
Yeah.
was it this was talked about, I know, but was it all of your understanding as well? Like once we, per the law, designate CAA and submit a work plan, we're then grant eligible and those funds would then essentially be transferred for us to use. The reimbursement approach will be costly and much more administratively burdensome for us.
That was my understanding too, that you wouldn't have to necessarily apply. I mean, but the work plan would define what you're doing and how those funds would be used. And as long as you submitted reports that, yep, this is how much money was used this quarter or whatever. And this is how much we used. This is what we did as tasks for, I understand the reporting requirements to make sure the money is getting used appropriately. But yeah, I didn't realize that there was going to be this big, heavy lift for grant applications. And now it's grant applications on a yearly basis.
Yeah. I think the biggest problem, and this sounds awful to say, I think the biggest problem is that the grant, which I understand why, got put into the recycling portion of Eagle because I do Tiger grants, super easy. I do MDART grants, I do Clean Sweep, super easy.
Yeah, those are great.
I'm part of environmental health. My other departments, boom, just get money. Like there's like, and I talked to our fiscal. They're like, yeah, your grants are like pre-audits. Like you have to prove ahead of time that you've already gotten your funds. Like no other state programs make you do that. They'll do like, all right, we're gonna randomly pull 5, and then you'll have to do that, but not every single purchase type item for which
That's a
is what
great
they
way
make
to
it
call
sound
it,
like it's gonna
pre-audit.
be.
I like the phrase you use there, pre-audit. I
Yeah,
think that's perfect.
that's what she called it. She said it's like a pre-audit for every single one. So, because I did some e-waste grants, which fall under the recycling program, which was all essentially like I had to call my treasurer and prove that the funds were received. And like from like where we sent it and all this stuff. Yeah.
You got to get a copy
It
of
was
the
a lot of
ACH.
legwork. So
it costs us too every time we have to do that. So used to have to do that. I forget for which grant. And it was for tires, which is now an awesome grant.
Yeah.
They work directly with the vendor, which is just beautiful. So
Mhm.
Eagle and the vendor
Yeah.
talk, and they bill them and they pay them. It is a wonderful thing.
I love that.
I wish this grant worked somewhere on that level. I don't.
Yeah.
Was there an explanation? I typed in the chat. Did they explain why it went reimbursement versus what we were told?
They probably didn't. I told them they didn't have it. This is deliberately not supposed to be for Eagle. It's not supposed to be, if Eagle wanted to do their own thing where we can go to them, then yeah. The idea is this is for us and then we can ideally give this as a tool to Eagle to see our frustrations.
Yeah. I did ask Christina if they were going to do a webinar on the guidance. And she said yes, but they don't have a date and time yet, which again is also frustrating because I have a looming deadline.
Yeah, don't we all right now?
And I've already asked for one extension and she gave me a 1 month extension, and that's not going to be long enough because now the guidance is out and I have to redo everything. And I have to have it approved by each of the 5 counties, not necessarily approved, but signed off on by each of the 5 counties, and then go to the MMPC. And I'm never going to get that done. And now a month.
Yep.
And that's one of the reasons why I didn't ask for an extension, because my thought was, what good is the extension? Because in the end, it doesn't change the overall arching deadline. So, and mind you, it's a lot easier for me. I only have one MMPC. So, and they already meet monthly. So, and mine are very active. So,
yeah. Well, we have one MMPC too because we have a regional
yeah,
plan.
yeah.
But and we meet monthly. I had to cancel the January meeting because
I saw that.
our only thing was the work plan, and I hadn't the guidance wasn't out yet. I put it together a draft, but the county administrators were reviewing it, the 5 county administrators.
Yeah.
And once they sign off on it, then I can bring it to the MMPC.
Yeah, where I don't have a county administrator. I just got one.
You out of your room, perhaps even in mid-sentence. Thanks for rejoining. All right, I hope your breakout rooms went well. Similar structure as before. We are in the same spots on the mural page, and we're going to have the next 15 minutes to have larger group discussion. So we'll have about 13 minutes. I'm setting that timer now. And I'd just love anybody who wants to get started. Would you talk about in your group? What sticky note really stuck out to you?
Hi, this is Erin Kuhn. I from the West Michigan Shoreline Regional Development Commission. We're a DPA for a 5-county, multi-county plan. One of the things we talked about is the difference between there's such a vast difference between a single county plan and a multi-county plan, and the guidance that is being provided by Eagle really kind of makes it confusing between the two. And it might be beneficial to have, okay, if you're doing a single county plan, this is your guidance. If you're doing a multi-county plan, this is your guidance. I mean, they can be similar, but I think it would help answer some questions, because with the new guidance with the grants and the work plan that just came out, for me, I have more questions now than I did before, because it really doesn't, it's going to be really difficult to do that, or a lot of administrative work on our part to pull all that together. Anyways, that's one thing that we brought up. And I personally really like this format and the opportunity for all the DPAs to come together. And maybe it would be beneficial too to have even separate, have single county DPAs and then multi-county DPAs. Anyways, just that's a random thought that just came in my head. So I'll be done and let others talk.
That's great. Thank you so much, Erin. Thanks for sharing that. Did anything similar come up in your group, or anyone want to share another strategy?
Hey there, Kate Neese, Clinton County. I just want to say, we talked about building on Whitney's idea of like a communication hub where we put all of the documents and Q&A stuff all in one spot for the DPAs to access. And then just meeting regularly to discuss frustrations, things that work, things that don't work. Yeah, just as a DPA group, having regular meetings, we can pop in and talk about hot topics, I guess.
Thanks, Kate. A lot of thumbs up to what you're saying. There.
I just want to give kudos to Whitney though, because she was the first one to say it, and we're all like, yes, that's exactly what we need.
Yay, snaps for Whitney.
I guess one of the things that and maybe Christina Miller can answer this. I think at one point there was conversation that we were having somewhat of a working session with Eagle at the very onset of all of this. And hopefully, Eagle is going to be willing to go back to that, which is going to create exactly what we're just talking about. And that's that, now we have that communication. It doesn't matter whether it's Christina Miller or who it is, but somebody at Eagle to, continue to, so to speak, foster this whole thing and be the communicator from all of it, so that we can possibly get to where all of this stuff is distributed at one single point.
Thank you, Jake. What else? What other strategies? I'm seeing on the sticky notes, we've got one message. If anyone wants to speak into what you mean by one message.
I'll pipe in and say that in our little group, there was some discussion about like the previous planning and the angst around that process, and how for some people have been in this a long time, that angst is just been reflected in this part. And so that's challenging. But one thing that came out of that is that there are other people in the political sphere that have had that experience as well. And there may be a need for Eagle to really speak about this county planning process to this larger community, and let people know that you're doing a good job. You're right on track. We're doing what we need to do. Everything is great. To put commissioners and political operators locally, and not to bring them some peace that their staff is doing a good work, that this is important work. They might value hearing about that, and it may be that we can inform and have a group conversation with Eagle to make that a reality.
Thank you, Karen. What else we got in strategies? Oh, go ahead, Lisa.
I just wanted to reflect on what Karen said. 100% agree. I put on the one message because I think the messaging is so important to come from Eagle to the greater community on the statewide level, to our counties and to our townships. I know that Eagle has been very supportive one-on-one. They've done a great job with that. But I think statewide, they need to be, kind of letting everybody know that this is really important. I don't know how they would accomplish that, but that's just was my comment. The other thing is on a level of providing education as a DPA. I mean, we have probably 60 townships that we need to educate, because those people in those townships are not going to go to a county board meeting. So we need to reach out to them, get that public participation. So we find it very important that we will be speaking with one message across our entire 6 counties. So that's where we're coming in, because there's so much misinformation out there about recycling and the benefits and the challenges and the things that are true and not true.
Thank you, Lisa. Thanks for sharing that, and thanks for adding more to that message. I'm noticing that when we're discussing strategies, we've identified some stuff that the DPAs can do, and then also some things it sounds like you're asking of Eagle. And so I'm just kind of wondering, keeping it in the room, what are some things some strategies you identified of what you guys as DPAs can create together, some strategies around that? I'm definitely seeing some sticky notes about regular DPA meetings, that platform to share documents. What else? Does that really resonate with people, those couple stickies?
I think finding ways to do like what we're doing here, I think is kind of, ways to do it is, maybe it's working with the MRC or other groups like the MRC, where we can create this network, maybe if Eagle can't be a host of like a data hub where we can share our I think I saw on some of the sticky notes, like, hey, what did you do for an RFP for consultants? Like, that's something I've done an RFP. I could share what I've done. And I can share my experience. What does your work program look like? Well, I've created one. I could share what mine is. What did else I see some other things or like other types, if there's, if the Eagle can't be the, a good hub for that, maybe there's somewhere else that can be, or we can talk about, maybe as a group of where we can do that, maybe, if Eagle isn't the resource for that, maybe we can, as a group find one or, I don't know, maybe that's, I don't know how we would do that. I'm not the one all be all, but maybe that's what I'm seeing is, maybe we're, and that's maybe what we're doing is maybe we think Eagle's the place for it, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's somewhere else. But I see that's the biggest thing, and I'm reading through all these, and it sounds like a lot of us are saying we want to share information, we want to share data, but it's where do we do it? That's the biggest question is it's the where. So
Thanks, Kim.
yeah.
I think one of the things that on that Kim would be, how many of the counties are working, whether it's a multi or a single county, how many of you are working with your regional planning association or like for us, MCOG, which is Eastern Michigan Council of Governments, and maybe them organizations may be an avenue for that. And maybe there might be a possibility, depending on the strength of the organization, there might be some funds there that they could help with that organizational process as well. So.
Great thought, Jake. That's great. I feel like you guys are really identifying that there's a lot of wisdom in the room and a lot of desire to collaborate, which is wonderful. Any other strategies you want to highlight to the group?
This is Laura. I would I hesitate to even offer this because I don't know if I can help participate on it, but it would be nice to have a kind of a boilerplate communications and outreach plan, like a communication strategy, like with a menu of options for how to, get that singular message out, different types of audiences that, or methods that you can, more of a tactical options of how to bring the community along. And so, I'm sure Eagle somewhere in their files has something like that along, whether it's for watershed management planning or some other program, but communications, community communication strategy and outreach plan would be really nice to have.
Thanks, Laura. All right, any final thoughts? Strategies. All right, feel free to keep adding your sticky notes. I'm actually going to just pause our time here, and I'm going to ask you to look at these strategies, glance over all of the sticky notes, and we're going to do another round of voting. So again, you'll have 3 votes, and you'll click on your sticky note to cast your vote. And this is really just to help us understand what are the most pressing strategies, what's rising to the surface here. Start the voting. Oops. I'll just go and try to canvas here. All right. Going down, we are only voting on what strategies can we create. You'll get about 2 minutes to keep reading. and voting. All right, giving it another 60 seconds. Cast your vote. What do you think are the best strategies, best ways to address the challenges and concerns we talked about before break? Finishing up here. I'm going to end the voting session now. Hopefully you're able to cast your vote. And let's take a look at what rose. So here we've got 11 votes as our most popular item to meet with Eagle on a regular basis, followed by regular full group DPA meetings, and location to share document and ideas, platform to share documents. So those kind of go together. Excellent job. All right, we're going to keep those captured here so that we can refer back to them. And we're going on to this last part here. What additional needs do you have? I recognize that we've been naming some of these needs throughout our conversation today, but we really want to specifically capture what additional needs you have. Consider what do you need to be successful and what resources would be helpful. So you'll get a little bit less time this go around. And so we'll have about 2 minutes for that individual work time. Start generating sticky notes. What resources do you need? And then we'll go back into our breakout rooms. And some music's coming to help you think. All right, our individual work time is up. Kelly is now going to graciously put you into some breakout rooms. These might be some different people in your breakout room, so make sure that you say hello, introduce yourself, and for the next about 9 minutes, you're going to discuss what additional needs do you have. Feel free to keep generating sticky notes and really get into some discussion around this. make sure you're able to go ahead and click join to get into your breakout room.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Kim, I'd just like to kick off by saying I think you did a good job with this meeting.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Yeah, I feel like it's been pretty good so far. I was shocked to see how many people, for as like how many glitches I've had try to get this to go forward.
Mhm. It's been really helpful though, because we're all on the same page, or we all have a better understanding that we're all share the same frustrations and
Yes.
yeah, it's
And I
good.
think
It's been good.
Eagle collectively hearing, they can at least bring those concerns back and get
This
them up
bit,
the chain or to whoever makes different decisions.
yeah.
But to hear everybody kind of echoing the same
Mhm.
concerns or thoughts, I think is probably
That
helpful
is
to them.
that was my main hope is I can say this since this is my first one without Eagle in it. Because I think at least if someone is, I don't know that you work for Eagle. But yeah, is that is to hear it versus actually, and the problem is too is I don't think it's any of the Eagle staff that I know their fault directly. I think it's really it's way up there, and I feel
Agreed.
bad for the ones that are having to hear it all because
Yeah,
they're
for
the ones
sure.
saying like essentially they're like I always think of that chart where there's like a bunch of birds and then like it's all the birds on the very bottom rung that are just covered in like bird poop.
Yeah. Yep.
And I feel like that's the Eagle staff that we talk to.
Yeah, they're with us. They want to get this done and get it done properly with guidance and support, but there's so much bureaucracy with internally they're spinning their wheels. So I know Christina is frustrated because she has a plan. She understands, how she wants to move it forward, but she has to jump all of these hurdles and get all of the blessings before she can release anything. And that's why I don't work at the state.
Yep, exactly.
I have zero patience for that.
Yeah. I mean, I had problem enough working for the county, let
Yeah,
alone
yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but hopefully this is my thoughts were some of the stuff there's something of substance to give, like
Yeah.
listen to all like here's all these this is what we're getting from everyone. Like we're not
Yeah.
it's not hearsay.
Right. Also, it's good that we're trying to focus on what we can do too,
Yeah.
not just like what Eagle can do for us, but like how can we work together as a group to make it easier for
Yeah.
everyone?
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. If you can
Because
circumvent yeah.
we're not getting that from the state.
Yeah.
There was one thing we talked about in my previous group was talking about like a cheat sheet on what the statute actually means, like the highlights and points that we need to be aware of. Because like I am not an attorney. I don't understand all the legalese. Like it would be great if there was just a one-page document that was like, here's what you need to know as, a DPA X, Y, and Z. And then that helps me better able to
Yeah.
understand it and explain it to my commissioners.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. I have to say that's one thing that's been nice with I've about all the stuff that's been going on in my county, it's been nice that my legal counsel has been he's been attending our meetings. So like when we get like hung up on something, he's like, "Oh, here's my legal advice," and it's like, that's kind of nice to actually have
Yeah.
that. Like,
That's
here's
not
my
a
legal
terrible idea.
interpretation. I'm
Yeah.
like, good, because I am not like, here's how I've interpreted it, or you get hung up on all these words, and it's like really all you need to do is get hung up on this one word, which is
Yeah.
money. All right.
Uh-huh.
Are you gonna spend money? Yes. All right.
Yes, we are.
Doesn't say that you have to say how much money you're going to spend. It doesn't say you have to say, it doesn't say you have to spend, it doesn't like part of the work program doesn't say you're going to have to spend how much. It doesn't say like just the grant funds as how much you
Yeah.
can spend above, below, under. Yeah, it just says how much money you think you're going to be spending,
I do wonder if they're going to let us, like Whitney asked, if they're going to let us roll over those funds because we don't know what we're going to need for implementation. Like, that's a really good point.
Well, so the thing is, when she said that, I I've had conversations with Eagle, different ones, and they had mentioned, and so as part of my work program actually, that they had even mentioned any unspent funds should be, they want you to put it into infrastructure.
Okay.
So they don't want you to waste all your money on consultants. Like
Right.
that's like the Eagle literally said, we don't want you to waste all your money on consultants because we want you to be able to then put it later into infrastructure. So when she said that, I was like, wait a minute, that's a good point because yeah, because if I'm not planning, like that's my intention is to hoard as much as I can.
Exactly.
Yes.
But then I'm like, well, maybe I need to like spend it, like what, but not spend it, like I don't know, like I'm like, oh,
Yeah, I think the
got my
format
wheels
of the
turning now. I'm like, ah,
the format of the grant doesn't lend itself to that. Like I just I don't understand. And again, we're getting $360,000 the first year, and all I really plan on us doing is having a consultant. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
even if we spend all of that on a consultant, it's not all going to be in the first year, but what else we're not going to know what we need the money for, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that gets resolved and answered. And it would be great if every county just has a pot of money. You put what you're going to have for the year, but it just continues and that it's just
rolls over.
earmarked for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Has the state ever done that with any other program though? That's my big question. Is there a precedent set for that? Or
Yeah. I
Most
can't
likely
they
not.
can't do it like every other like public health. That my biggest thing is why can't we be like every other public, like say, I know it's not every public health, but like I call it what they call it, estimate. I don't know. I'm always like the oddball in environmental health. So on-site, well and septic, the food team, they just get given. They don't even have to like, they just get given money. They're just like, oh, you're a mandated program. Here's
right.
billions of monies.
That's the big difference. Special
Yeah.
funded, non-mandated versus mandated. Yeah.
Yeah, we're like oh, now you'll be kind of mandated. You'll get 60,000,
Right.
going forward.
Here's a little treat for
Yeah,
existing.
yeah, we're gonna make you do this, but yeah, so it's like, I don't know. But either way, but why do we have to go through all the hurdles? You're making us do it.
Right.
What,
Right.
we're a government entity. What do you think we're gonna do? Like, go spend on candy?
Yeah.
Like,
In my previous, one of my previous breakouts, they were saying like, we don't have the money, just like others said, we're cutting road funding.
yeah.
So basically, we're probably not going to be able to do this, and the state's going to have to do our,
Yeah.
like I think that was reiterated in the big group, and it's like, it's not a very good system.
Yikes. Yeah. And again, they learned nothing from doing this 26 years ago. The state took no notes.
Yeah.
I feel like we're in a very similar situation, but now there's like a tease of some funding. Anywho.
Yeah.
What were we supposed to talk about? Resources?
What additional needs do we have? Need them
Easier
fixed
grant
Besides
process.
funding. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna put that need fixed grant.
Yes.
You're
Fix
gonna
it.
get a lot of thumbs up on that one.
Yeah. I'm gonna do it too.
Well, Stephen, I hope you feel better soon.
Yes, feel better.
All right, give it a minute. Let's come back into the room. Thanks so much for joining us back here in our large group. I hope your breakout session went well. And I've been looking at your sticky notes, and I'll just offer, in the next minute or two, does anyone want to come off mute and kind of share their sticky note or what you talked about in your group, or we can also move right on to voting.
I'll just offer something, Karen O'Brien again. We're seeing on every one of these boards funding, and I think it's important to make a distinction about funding. So I asked our group, is it really, how are you going to fund the planning process? Because I think there's a conception that that's done, and or is it how to fund your programs? How do you get ongoing funding to support your collection programs or whatever? And it became obvious to me asking this question that the question of funding is really important. And unfortunately, the reimbursement process that is annual is going to be really hard for counties that don't have a sack of cash on the side that they can pull from to support this process. And so, having quarterly reimbursements and having maybe some kind of advance that could happen would go a long way to help those communities, counties that don't have the resources. So I think it was important to drill down into that, because we can't just, because funding is always an issue in everything we talk about, but this is, I think, an important and very specific point that
bust in
counties
here.
are making here today.
Karen,
Go ahead.
Yeah, the reimbursement is not on an annual basis. We have one budget year's chunk of money to give out to everyone, but reimbursement can be sought more frequently than in an annual basis, quarterly, or if needed to be more than quarterly, it can be sought as soon as you pay for it and have the receipts.
That's very helpful. Thank you for chiming in, Emily.
Thanks, Karen. All right, so anything else? Does anyone want to share what you wrote about additional needs? I'm seeing Google Drive or Teams channel. All right, if there's no additional thoughts there, then I'm going to open up another round of voting, just a minute or two here. All right, so right now you've got 3 votes, and we're only voting on additional needs. What do you think are the top needs that would help you be successful, or things that you have used that are helpful? Again, just 2 minutes here. Give you just another 40-ish seconds. I see most people are complete. Let you cast your last vote here. And I'm going to go ahead and end our voting session. And let's see what additional needs popped up. All right, so what we've got is specific guidance and templates from Eagle being helpful. Next up, Google Drive or a Teams channel. And then we've got a big tie here, namely timely and consistent messaging from Eagle, an easy to digest explanation of the statute, like a 1-page cheat sheet, guidance specific to multi-county planning, funding, more guidance from Eagle, and having a DPA work group forum about shared experiences and options for progress will be helpful. Great, thanks for participating in that. This is gonna stay up here. And we're gonna move on to our last little section here before taking a new direction. All right, and so similar to before, I'm gonna give you about 3 minutes to generate ideas on your own, and then we'll go right into voting. So we're not doing any more breakout rooms. But here, what I'd like you to consider for the next few minutes are action steps. Use at least 2 sticky notes to share out what our next action steps could be. You will then have the opportunity to vote to determine next actions. Consider how you all as DPAs can work together. You can consider what Eagle provides. And really, I hope that you can lean into considering how you as DPAs can co-create guidance to one another throughout this process. So maybe taking a little bit of a step back from asking for different things from Eagle, and instead, what can you co-create as DPAs together? I'll give you about 2 minutes here to keep going. I see everyone's busy, and I'm going to give you some thinking music. All right, our few minutes are up. Take a moment to read through everyone's action steps, and I'm going to start another round of voting. You can keep adding your stickies as we go here, but take a moment to read, and then we'll take the next 2 minutes or so to do another round of voting. What do you think are the best action steps, focusing only on this action step area? Take another 60 seconds or so. Moving through this last round of voting. Most productive action steps to co-create guidance to one another throughout this process. Looks like we're just finishing up. All right, wrapping up voting here. I'm going to end the voting session. And let's see what we have. All right, 8 votes for DPA Hub that has options for full DPA meetings, regional material sharing, chat question sharing. Tied with Create Hub for information sharing, DPA contact list, and then monthly DPA work group meeting in this format because it's genius and engaging. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Good job.
Appreciate that. Letter from all DPAs to Eagle, letting them know what we need as discussed here. So excellent job, everyone. Thanks for voting. This is going to stay here and it will be shared out to you. And at this point, I'm going to stop my screen share because we're going to move into sort of a different mode. And I prepared a Zoom poll for you all. We were kind of thought maybe folks might want to continue meeting, and we wanted to talk through some of those logistics. So on your screen, you should in a moment see a DPA poll. It's got a series of 7 questions here. And just ask that you go ahead and fill out that poll. Is everyone seeing that okay? Can I get a thumbs up? Awesome. Great. Thank you. I'll play some music while you're filling out your poll. No need to rush here. Right. And go ahead and close out our poll. All right, and you should be able to see the responses now. Let me know if you can't, but what I'm seeing is to question 1, do you want to meet again to discuss part 115? We've got a yes. And feel free to scroll through here and we're going to capture everything that was decided on this poll to make some next steps. And in the minutes, we'll send this out to you so that you don't have to hold all of these poll results in your mind. All right. All right, so just in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the DPA results. And for the next, we'll say probably 5 minutes, we wanted to allow space for some questions and answers to one another. Anything that's been in your mind that you wanted to say or ask and haven't gotten that opportunity, we're going to have the next 5 minutes for that, and then we're going to close out our time together. So I've got 5 minutes on our timer, and this is really your unstructured time to discuss. Feel free to come off mute or put your comments or questions in the chat.
Hi, it's Catherine from the Mid-Michigan Waste Authority in Saginaw County. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, yeah, we can hear you.
I just wanted to say a great big thank you to Kim for organizing this and bringing Sierra in with her fabulous mural tool. This has been great. It's been engaging. I feel supported. I feel informed. And it's been great to be together with everyone. And I just found this very valuable. And I know in some of our small groups that we've talked about how valuable it is. So I just wanted to make sure that our appreciation was expressed to both of you and to everybody, Karen, that came on board and made this such a helpful experience. So thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. We really appreciate your gratitude. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
Any other questions, thoughts?
If I can say something, what I would say here is that we, I think, have to be cognizant of Eagle's role in all of this, and that as a state agent or a state agency, they are going to be held to a very restrictive and confined standard of how they engage with us. And I think that that is exactly why we are having this forum. And so I don't think we can expect that Eagle is going to host a forum like this or want to jump in the way that we may be wanting them to. I think the MRC just is, partnering with Kim and Sierra on doing this is well poised to like stand in this place of providing resources, of making space for documents, of convening meetings, just because we can do it without the formalization and the restrictions that Eagle has as an agency that will be ultimately responsible for approving these plans. So I think that's important as we move forward to recognize this, that there is a separation that's really going to be needed here. And we're, I think, ready to step into some role to support this collective effort.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks for elevating that. Anyone else? Thoughts? All right, if not, I am going to pause our timer here, and then I'm going to go ahead and share screen with you once more. Here. All right. So taking us into our closing activity, last sticky note you have to generate, I promise. On a sticky note, share one word or phrase that best describes how you are feeling leaving this session today. If you'd like, you can use a GIF as well, or feel free just to use that sticky note. This is a moment of reflection. We know that adults learn by reflection, and so we're just taking that moment to recognize what we did today in this session, and then also how you're feeling leaving today's session. And I'll give you just a minute or so to do that. Bringing in the music one last time. right, our few minutes are up. I recognize you might still be finding your perfect gift or picking out what you want to put, but call your attention to our closing word here. Looks like some really beautiful images we've got. We're all in this together. I feel so loved and supported. Dancing, we're feeling hopeful, less anxious, like we're not alone. And some teams are being created. Really lots of positivity. I'm so glad you might be feeling that way. And we're gonna go ahead and close here. I can share with you that you'll receive both the recording of this session and then quite possibly some notes and some action steps that will come about this. But let's keep the conversation going. Kieran and Kim, anything else you want to add as we're closing out today?
Yeah, I'll just say thank you all for being here today. I know this was a long time on your calendars, but this is an important topic, and I hope that it is indicative of what is ahead for us this year, that we're starting the new year kind of with a perspective about how we're going to work together to make this a reality for each county in Michigan, because that's what it's going to take. So I appreciate all of you.
Okay. Kim, anything on your part?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, everyone. And, it's only strong if we all participate, and you guys all did a great job. And I think, we'll come up with something. I don't know what it'll be exactly, but I think, if we all keep working together like this, I think we'll get something together and plug and chug, and we'll get through this materials management planning process. So that's what my hope is.
Yay.
And
Thank
if
you.
anyone needs anything, I think you guys all pretty much have my contact information from now. So if you have anything that you want from me, I'm always willing to share, or if you need anything, just let me know and I'll try to see what I can do.
Great. Thanks, Kim. All right. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day. Be in contact soon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.